Hey everybody, welcome to the Pro Trading Room Plus and the API report. My name is Lee Goldstein, the trading director for 10 Minute Trades. Please remember that all the trades we discuss are for educational purposes. Please trade carefully and let's get started. I want to thank everybody who's joining us on YouTube. Thank you for being with us today. And we are here for the API report, which is usually not on a Wednesday. So a couple of interesting things are going on. What is the API report? I don't know. It's a news report and it's based on oil and it's controlled by the American Petroleum Institute, API. The American Petroleum Institute sells the data so that for the first 5 minutes, the report is released at 4:30 p.m. The first 5 minutes, the data is private. You can buy the data, get the news, and you can trade it for 5 minutes. Then the various calendars scramble around to get the data, and then we actually take a second trade on the actual data release. Now, when the trade is on a Wednesday, I'm more conservative than normal about taking an extra trade. There's also another situation where we have mixed volume. Let me explain what I mean. If you look at the oil contract and its volume by going to New Market Analyzer, I have this little template that we created. Right click, and I'm going to add the current oil contract, which is CL 1124. And I'm going to add the December contract, CL 1224. Duh. And if you notice, we've got 199,000 on November and 160,000 on December. That's mixed volume. That means that you have volume that's heavy on the current contract and volume that's pretty heavy on the next contract that rolls over literally in 2 days. Tomorrow's rollover day. And then it usually takes a day or so for everything to catch up, depending on the contract, depending on traders. So it's mixed volume. I generally don't, mixed volume is a negative. It's a particularly interesting negative on this report for a very important reason. So trading oil at 4:30 p.m. Eastern Time is a very low volume, extremely low liquidity time to trade oil. So that means you're increasing your risk of not getting good fills, of maybe not having as good of a outcome as you're expecting. So it's just something you want to be aware of. I will still trade the trade. I'll still take our range trade because we're looking at 6 winners in a row. It's a family money trade. I'm just going to be aware that we have mixed volume. It's possible that we could get a dull reaction to this report, which means maybe it'll fill and the price will just hang around where it fills. Maybe it won't fill, it'll be dull. And then the news will come out. They're expecting a pretty decent sized build, 3.2 million barrels. And oil this week has been going through extreme volatility. At the beginning of the week, oil was, I think it was over $75. If we look at the daily chart on oil, and you know that for the way that we trade, we are not fanatical technical analysis people, but technical analysis does matter with the way that we trade. It's just we don't rely on technical analysis to make our decisions in most cases. But look at where oil was. Wow, oil was almost $80 this week. So, or a couple of days. So we're 3 days in. It was 76 this week. The week before, it got up to 79, it looks like almost. So you could see that's pretty significant volatility in the oil price. It's just something to be aware of. If you look at one of the indicators that we use, one of the tools that we use, which are free, the net change display indicator, which is a part of Ninja, the Ninja Trader platform. If you click on indicators, and then click on Net Change Display. If you don't have this indicator installed, I highly recommend it. It's a great indicator. It doesn't get in the way. Just double click it, have it configured down below, and when you set it up, the way that you use it is you set the unit you're going to use it to measure in. So for instance, let's put it on points for oil, because oil is usually calculated in dollars. You could put it on currency if you'd rather do that. And also it's pretty common to put it on ticks also. And then what I do is I put the location of the indicator on the bottom right of my chart. And what this indicator does, if you notice, there's a little red -4. So NinjaTrader has templates built into the software. When you click on data series, right click the chart, click on data series, or if you create a new chart, this would be the same screen you'll see when you create a new chart. In NinjaTrader has trading hours and it uses various templates, and there's many of them. But we use just a couple of them for the type of trading that we do. When we use the instrument settings, our indicators are calculating from the previous market close. Okay. So the -4 or the number that's being returned by the net change display indicator is the difference in price on the oil instrument, because that's the indicator of the instrument we're using. And it shows you, is oil up or down from last evening when the markets closed? It sounded very complicated, but it's very simple. So it's just a simple indicator that calculates the bullishness or bearishness, whether oil is up or down, from when the markets closed yesterday, 6 p.m. The futures markets close and then they reopen. Sorry, they close 5 p.m. Eastern time. They reopen at 6. It's that hour of closing that determines when it reopens. That's where we're getting our values. So if the market is -1, it's not -1 from the market open at 9:30 this morning, but it's from last evening when the futures came back online. Okay? So right now you would look at oil and you say, hey, oil's flat because it's only -1 tick. But then you want to take a deeper look and maybe look at a 30-minute chart of oil, or a 15-minute chart of oil might be very useful. Not 30 seconds, but 30 minutes. And that'll give you a much better idea. I actually like the 15-minute chart. So you can see from when the markets closed last evening. You can see 12 noon, you can see 00 back here. And here's where the markets closed last evening and reopened, okay? And that's where our indicator is calculated from. So you can see the direction of oil at the moment is bearish, right? Ooh, look at that, but it's coming back. It made it, I'd say, at least 3/4 of the way back. And at the end of the trading day here, it is trying to be a little bit more bullish, but overall, today, the trend is still bearish. That's what I would say. However, it's sort of in the middle of being at the high of the day and at the low of the day. That's good for our trade, because what that tells me is we have room to move up, we have room to move down on the news. So that's a good thing. All right, so let me just see what notes people are saying. All right, la la la. Okay, Arthur, always nice to hear your analysis. You always have something interesting to say about the markets. And I want to take a look over on my laptop and see who's watching on the tube, YouTube. Okay, nice amount of people watching. So hit that like button if you would. And thank us for streaming for free and showing you everything that we do a couple of times a week at least. And I really appreciate that you find the time to make it over to YouTube and watch us. And feel free to ask questions. I will answer them. I'm happy to have everyone participate wherever you might be located in this wonderful world that we live in today. All right. So we have a trade setup. We have two types of setups for this report. We have one very simple setup, which is after the news is known to us, if there is a big difference between the expected news and the actual result, then we may take a trade based on the direction that the news tells us to trade. So, for instance, right now we're looking at Financial Juice, and we also look at investing.com, and they have a forecast, okay, in crude. And the forecast, now what's interesting today is this is a little bit unusual. I'm just wondering if the numbers got reversed by accident on Financial Juice. Investing.com is expecting a 3.2 million barrel build, And Financial Juice is expecting a 2.3, 3.2, 2.3. See what I mean? Maybe the numbers got reversed. Usually the calendars agree. Nevertheless, we're looking for a much bigger build than that. If we get a very big offset, very big difference between the news and the forecast and the actual news, a very big change, very big offset. If it's a big build, I might go short. If it's a big drawdown, then I might be convinced to go long. So, for instance, if there's negative 3 million barrels, that would be a rather large offset, and I would consider a long. That's after our range trade takes place. Hey, thanks for that message, Barry. Appreciate that. So let's look at our trade, whatchamacallit, our trade sheet. I'm losing it. I'm tired today, folks. I'm a little bit tired. We've had a lot of early mornings this week. We had a 5:30 in the morning yesterday trading earnings. Earnings is starting. I want to remind everybody we have a webinar coming up. Um, Shoot, and I didn't post it on our YouTube site, and I don't think I can do it right now. But everybody watching on YouTube, we have an earnings webinar tomorrow. I'm going to teach you how do I trade earnings, and it's going to be a really good webinar at noon. So you can send us an email, help@10minutetrades.com, help@10minutetrades.com, and I'll send you a free invitation to the webinar. It's going to be on GoToWebinar. And so it is earnings season. That's why we've been getting up so early in the morning. We had United Health earnings yesterday morning. We made money. We had Goldman Sachs. Some of us made money. It was a little bit tricky. They released their earnings early. We had Morgan Stanley this morning. No trade. They didn't move the market. I love earnings. It's so much fun. I'm just curious, did anyone trade the British inflation news this morning? It was a very big move, I noticed. I'm just curious if anyone used our setup and traded that this morning. Here's our daily trade report, the DMM, on how we're going to trade the API report. If you notice, 6 winners in a row at the moment. And let me see, that's a little bit big. Let's make it so you can see it. 6 winners in a row. This is a family money trade. It was a really nice trade last week, and it was a nice trade the week before. The 2 weeks before that, you could see the profits were a little bit smaller. 10 ticks is not a lot, 11 ticks is not a lot, but still, nevertheless, we've had profits every week for the past 6 weeks on this report. It's really been trading well. It's a funny story. Just when I was getting ready to quit trading this report, no joke, it was performing so poorly. It went on a winning streak, and it's been on that streak for like 5 months now. It's just been trading great. So we're going to trade the range trade. Our report, our DMM, it's called the Daily Market Mover. It's a report we send to our members the day before the event, and it explains how we're going to trade this event. And let me just put the report up here in a way that people can see it. It's a little bit too big. Here we go. So it's a range trade. Our software supports creation of a range.
So
Right
Bank of
click
America
on the
declares fourth
chart.
quarter 2024 stock dividends. So cash dividends on
Okay.
stock of
And
26
click on
cents a
JOB
share.
version 11. I'm going to choose the trade type as a range trade. And then the first thing I've got is a range start time. I outlined in red
And looking at the market wrap in the next session,
1629.58
stock traders
range
continue
start
to
time.
drive a
So I'm
rotation
just going
away
to
from
type
mega
that
caps
in.
that have propelled the bull market and toward the pitfalls of Wall
1629.58.
Street.
It's real easy to use our
Economically sensitive
software.
stocks performed well with the
We
Russell
have 4
2000 index for
ticks
smaller
above the
companies,
range,
reaching its highest
four
level in nearly
ticks
3
below the
years.
range.
most
and I'll
traded
explain what that
technology
means in a
companies
minute.
fell, but
We're
Nvidia
creating a
increased
range using
1%,
time,
an equal
and
weight
if we
closed the
get
S&P
4 ticks
500
above the
underperformed
range,
the
we'll
US
go
market.
long. If we get
That
4 ticks
gauge is
below the
mostly
range,
dominated
we'll go
by
short.
large companies,
And we
we hope
probably
that the
will.
rally
Most
will
often we
spread.
get filled. So we have a
Also
starting
continued
range
short from a
time of
slew of corporate earnings. Morgan
1629.58.
Stanley rose
We're going
6.54%,
to end
and
the
investment
range at
bankers joined their Wall Street peers
1630.02.
in reporting
It's a
higher than
very short
expected
little
revenue,
range.
resulting in a 32% profit increase
And
for
then
the
we've
third
got two
quarter.
positions.
United
Position
Airlines and
size one
Colgate
is a
soared
target.
12%
Position
after
size two
earnings
is a
exceeded
target. One
expectations. The
contract for
S&P
each,
500 increased
especially when there's mixed
0.5%
volume.
to around
I don't add risk
5,840.
when there's
The
mixed
Nasdaq
volume.
100 showed little
I'm
change.
going to
The
look for
Dow Jones
targets of
Industrial
7
Average rose
ticks and 15
0.8%.
ticks. That's my
Russell 2000
normal
gained 1.6%.
weekly
The
target.
Magnificent 7 gauge showed little
7 and
change.
15. Our
Treasury
stop
10-year
is
yields fell 2
13.
basis
We're
points to
risking 13
4.01%.
ticks
Bitcoin
on
gained
the trade per
1.9% to
contract. And if my first
$67,728.67.
target gets hit, let me just think, do I want to move my stop and protect it? Yeah, I guess I will. Target one stop move. If my first target gets hit, I'll move my stop to break even -3 automatically. So that's my trade. It's a range trade. It's all set up. My stop will move automatically. If my first target gets hit, I'm looking for 7 ticks. I'm looking for 15 ticks. I'm trading it in my prop account, my Lilu account, and that's the deal. That's what I'm doing right now. That's my first setup. Okay. Any questions on the first setup? It's easy. Ah, okay. I'm getting very nice comments on YouTube today. Thanks very much, folks. Okay, so this is an oil report. It's different than the Wednesday 1030 oil report, but it's somewhat similar in that it tracks storage and it tracks some of the same information, but it's a different methodology of figuring out what the storage is. So that's why the report responds differently, excuse me, than the Wednesday report. The Wednesday report is a government report. The API, the American Petroleum Institute, is a private company. So it's interesting. I started trading this report many, many years ago. It has changed in the way that it trades, in the way that it responds. It used to be a really explosive report. And I'm not going to complain right now because it's making money. But in years past, it really was a much more exciting report to trade. Nowadays, it's like watching paint dry. But we know the way that it moves. We know the way this report behaves. So we know what to expect. So we've got a range trade set up. Now, remember what I said. If there is a large difference in the expected news from what the news is, then we may take a second trade. So I'm going to set up with our software a second trade using our reversal continuation feature. Right click the chart. It's so easy to use our software. Click on strategy, click on the name of the software, and I'm so excited. We're going to change the name of our software, and that's all I can say. I'm going to get in trouble for saying that. We should have a contest, and the person that comes up with the best software gets a month free in the trade room. Maybe we'll do that. Anyway, I'm going to put on a reverse continuation trade. Okay. And I'm just going to do one position, full size contracts. I'm going to look for 13 ticks of profit and I'm going to risk 13 ticks. Okay. And I'm going to trade that in a second prop account so that I don't have to worry about either of the setups interfering with each other. All right. So that's just a discretionary reversal continuation. It's really going to be most probably a continuation. Okay. And I'm going to label my trade. We always label our trades, especially when we're trading two setups like we're doing today. So if you notice the NinjaTrader control panel, We have two setups. One is labeled reversal. That's our reverse continuation. It puts buttons on the chart. Those are discretionary buttons that I will use depending on the news. So I can trade and I can rhyme. I will use when I trade the news. So if, like I said, there's a big offset, we're expecting 3.2 million barrels in a build. If there's 7 or 8 million barrels, I'll probably take a short. If there's negative 7 or 8 million barrels, I'll take a long. Okay. And on the left side of the chart, we're going to be expecting our range trade to very possibly fill. No matter what happens, we're not going to complain today because we've had 6 winners in a row. You can ignore the MB. MB, you can ignore the bracket. It will be ignored on the range trade. And the reason that you're showing something that I'm not showing is because you're using a slightly older version of the software. Um, so if you want to, you can just go to the website and download the version that I'm using now. It's on the website. Okay, because we've taken the time out of the range, the bracket. We've taken the bracket out of the range trade because it's ignored anyway. So it doesn't matter what you type. Okay. You don't have to type anything. Okay. So, and everybody should know yeah, put a zero. You could put a zero. It'll get ignored anyway. So don't worry. You don't have to worry about it. But yeah, put a zero. Everybody can go to our website, 10minutetrades.com, if you're a registered software user, and you can download the software. Okay, the current versions. The new magnet trade is up. The most recent range trade is up. No, not range trade, the trap trade, and the most recent breakout. Everything has updates. Everything's been updated over the past month. If you don't know how to do it, just send me an email, and I have a software installation sheet that I will happily send to you. It'll make your life easier if you don't know how to do it. It's not hard at all. Basically, you just go to Tools, Import, NinjaScript add-on. Couple of things you want to do. So if you want to send me an email, you know what? I'm going to post for people in the trade room. I'll put the software installation sheet in the room drive. Does everybody understand what I mean by that? In the room drive. I'm going to upload it right now if I can. Let me see if I can. Should be able to. Hold on. Wow. You know, sometimes you could do something and something really bad could happen. It just uploaded a file. I was just clicking like an insane person. I mean, what if I had something really crazy on my computer and it uploaded the file? I mean, you could really get yourself in all sorts of crazy behavior if you don't behave yourself, is what I should say. Let's upload this file. Fortunately, I'm always behaving myself. So any file that uploads on my computer will not get me in trouble, and that's the truth. But you know why I'm saying my son is a criminal defense attorney, and the stuff that people have on their computers puts them in jail for 30 years. So that's why it's on my mind. I proof all of his legal briefs, and I spent this morning proofing like a 50-page brief. So crazy stuff's on my mind. Let me upload that file. Why do we use a range trade? It just has to do with the testing. Sometimes it's nice when we don't know the exact time that a trade is going to move the market. A range trade is a really nice way to do it. It's often when we don't know the exact time. I know it seems it's sometimes a little bit tricky to follow why we do it, but it's really the testing that allows us to make these decisions. And We've been doing this as a range trade for a very long time, and it works well. So let me get that file uploaded. There we go. Okay, so anybody that wants to download the current software and you're in the trade room, you don't know how to do it. With a breakout trade, you have to know the exact time. It's much more time critical. With a range trade, we're using the range to create time. With the breakout trade, we're not using a range at all. We're just doing it. It's the research tells us, well, this particular event takes place at this particular time. So we can put our orders on the chart at a very specific time. With a range trade, we don't need to be that fine in terms of how we determine what the bracket's going to be. It also, when you think about a range, it's not a finite set bracket, it's changeable. And that's what we found to be more successful in certain trades. We don't want to have a set bracket, and the time is not set for creating the bracket. Okay, now I bluffed my way out of that one. So next, we only have about 2 minutes until the news comes out. So I'm just going to watch the market. I'm not going to show last week's trade. All right. Like I said, they're expecting 3.2 million barrels. That is a moderate amount. It's not huge. It's not a huge build. It's not a small build. I'd say it's a medium-sized build. Now, usually when there's mixed volume, it can sometimes create fills that aren't as good. That's particularly appropriate, particularly an issue when you're trading cash. Okay, prop accounts are different. Trading in a prop account is very different than trading in a cash account in terms of the fills. The fills are not the same. And it is something that we are seeing. Also, we're seeing differences in prop companies at times as well. All right, so we've only got about 45 seconds left. Let's see what happens. So the first thing, our range will start to draw on the left chart right here, the chart that I'm manipulating with my cursor. I'm an expert chart manipulator. So we've got 25 seconds, 15 seconds. Okay, our range is going to start to draw right now. If I did everything correctly, I did. There's our
Order
range.
submitted.
There's our orders. Now the news is going to come out, and it's either
Order
going to
submitted.
it put us in the market. It burst up quite a bit. Did not hit that first target. Normally, when we get a big burst like that, we should get a follow through. But that was not as big of a burst as it looks like. That was, well, actually, let's see, it was 8 ticks in the candle. That was a 15 tick burst. So it's a little bit disappointing that I did not get a fill um, in the account because it moved certainly enough to give a, well, you have a range we have to deal with also. All right, let's see what's going to happen. I'm not going to do anything. I'm just going to wait now and see if we get a follow through. Normally, when there's a nice burst like that, normally we get a follow through. So I'm not expecting a stop out. I'm expecting at least to hit my first target. That's what I will expect. Now, I do have a second trade. Remember, when the news comes out, when the news is known, depending what it is, and I believe based on the behavior so far, My feeling is that we are going to have a large drawdown in the news. If the price
Order filled.
continues, there we go. It's continuing. I'm going to expand my target because that's a nice move already. Expanding my target, we have ourselves a winning trade, cannot lose no matter what happens now. I will trail as price goes up. 7 winners in a row on the API report. No matter what, I cannot lose on this trade. I'm a little bit surprised it moves so dramatically on a Wednesday. Usually it's not quite as exciting on a Wednesday also. I would say I would be shocked if it's not a large build. Drawdown, 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 not build. Large drawdown. 5 to, I'd say 8 million. I'm thinking 8 million drawdown. Then if you add that to the 3 million in the build they were expecting, it's like an 11. It becomes like an 11 million drawdown. So let's see. I'm really curious to see how the news comes out. Okay, Frank, that was quick. You made money and you're leaving. Have a nice dinner, Frank. Now, I could pull my stop
As you can keep
back,
in
but
mind, any time from now, we are expecting the release of the
I'm trying to
Singapore Stock
protect some
Exchange numbers.
profit.
To keep
Okay.
in mind, they were released to API subscribers at the bottom of the hour. We are just waiting for the
Yes, Lawrence,
releases,
this is
the numbers,
the
sorry, to
API
hit
report.
the
Absolutely. How are you?
social media platforms.
This is the API report. Yep. Okay. So it looks like it wants to change direction, though. I've protected a few ticks after our first 7 ticks. I always want to make at least, I'd like to make at least 100 on this. I'm right on the border
So seeing the release
of
of the API
90.
numbers here, crude oil, a draw of 1.58 million, a draw of
It was only
1.58
a
million is
drawdown
lower
of
than the expected build of 2.3
1.58.
million.
Only a drawdown of
Gasoline's a draw of
1.58. That is
5.926
not
million, a
big
draw of
enough for me to
5.926
take
million.
a long
Distillates a draw
on
of
my second
2.672
account,
million,
okay?
2.672
But
million
I will
draw,
stay
while
in
Cushing
my
drew a build of
range trade.
0.41 million, a build
I'll
of
stay in my range
0.41
trade.
million. See some strength in WTI crude off the back of the private release
See
of
what
these numbers.
happens. Now remember, I expanded my target. Right now, it doesn't look like the expanded target makes that much sense at the moment. We'll give the news a few seconds for the market to absorb it. You know, sometimes you get your move and the party is over. But, and I'm always curious, did we make the right decision by not getting in long on the second trade? We would be long right about here. So keep in mind at around 69 would have been your second trade entry. Okay. So that's important to keep in mind, just so you can make an intelligent decision. Sander, you always trade the MCL on this report when I personally don't like trading the MCL on it. And Sander, I think you've been making money every week trading MCL, right? I think it's pretty safe to one, trade one, trade one large size using the if the market moves feature, and I think you could do okay because we hardly ever get stopped out on this report. I think it's only had one stop out, one full stop in months. I can't remember. I remember one full stop out in the past 8 weeks. Now I'm going to trail a little bit. I don't want to let all the money disappear, right? I don't want to get too close. I'll bring my target a little further out. If it's going to give me money, I'll take it. Now, the market, the oil market, oh, it's going to stop me out right now. The oil market is going to close at,
Order filled.
okay, it took me out. The oil market closes at 5 p.m. Don't forget, with all the rest of the futures. So, folks, all you want to do now is manage your trade. Okay. We had a profitable trade. We made our 100, made 110. I'm going to watch for a couple more minutes just till 1640. And then I'm going to say good evening to everyone. So give me a roll call. Who made money? Sandra made money. Frank had to leave. Frank made money. Who else made money? Let our YouTube watchers get the news that we made some money. So they sign up. We want you all to sign up, right? Join with us and learn how to do this because we have some great events that are really worth trading. Now, the reason I didn't take the discretionary long, is because the difference in the news wasn't large enough. Okay, they were expecting 2.3, and on Financial Juice, if their number is more accurate, it was even less of a significant drawdown than if their number had been higher. I wanted about 5 to 6 million at least on the drawdown. I think you just need strong offsets to drive the markets in these days. That's all I'm saying. Jim, the UNH trade was a winner. UNH has, I can't remember the last trade that earnings trade lost. And then what was our other one? Was there another one? That was Nopa was a small winner also. Nopa was a small win. Both of them were winners. UNH was a nice winner. Nopa was a small winner. And Goldman Sachs, most people made money on Goldman also. So we're doing well with the family money trades, definitely. This is a family money trade, so this counts as a winner also. Definitely this is a winner. All right, Doc, you made a nice 300 bucks on this. Good to hear. All right. So everybody, thanks on YouTube. I'm going to close out our stream and say goodnight to everyone. So thank you very much. YouTube, hit the like button on your way out. We will be streaming one more time this week. I can tell you right now, let me look it up. Tomorrow's natural gas. All right. Tomorrow, 10 o'clock a.m. Thanks everybody on YouTube. Appreciate it. We're going to send you home. Hit the like button on your way out.